I built my name on ovals I wasn't supposed to survive, and now someone else is strapping into my seat. The pit box has carried the same name for 10 straight races, and this weekend, that name is gone. Nobody official is explaining why. There's no press release, no drawn-out statement, just an entry list that looks different from everyone that came before it. One name is missing from the sheet. One name has replaced it. And by the time you find out who, you'll understand why every NASCAR insider is suddenly paying attention. The truck at the center of this is the number 71 Spire Motorsports Chevrolet. For the first time in 10 races, someone other than Shane Van Gisbergen is behind the wheel this weekend at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. The name taking over is Connor Zilisch. This isn't a case of a backup driver quietly filling in for 1 week. This is a driver whose entire NASCAR future just shifted in front of everyone watching, and the timing of it is what's raising eyebrows across the garage. The history of this specific truck reads like a case file laid out piece by piece. Shane Van Gisbergen drove the number 71 at North Wilkesboro in July, finishing 5th, and he later ran a different Spire Motorsports truck at Richmond, where he finished 3rd. Those 2 outings had made him the truck's most consistent driver for that stretch of the season, appearing in it more than any other name on the roster. Connor Zilisch already has history in that exact number 71 truck as well, a second-place finish at Watkins Glen in May, a race in which he led a large portion of the laps run and pushed the eventual winner to the finish line. After that Watkins Glen performance, the truck went quiet. No entries were filed. No announcements were made about its next appearance for several weeks. Then, without warning, it's back on the entry list, and it's Zilisch's name attached to it, not Van Gisbergen's. Coincidence? Or timing that's impossible to ignore? This isn't a random driver being handed a one-off opportunity. Connor Zilisch is a full-time Cup Series rookie in the number 88 Trackhouse Racing Chevrolet, a ride he stepped into after a 2025 Xfinity Series season that made him one of the most closely watched young talents in the sport, with a level of results that made this eventual promotion feel inevitable to people following his career closely. Just days before this news broke, Hendrick Motorsports confirmed he is taking over the number 48 car starting in 2028, a seat with one of the most storied numbers in the sport's history. He is simultaneously a Trackhouse driver, a confirmed future Hendrick Motorsports driver, and now the man sitting in Van Gisbergen's old truck seat. So we're talking about our channel here for a second, because we're closing in on 1,500 subscribers on NASCAR Insider TV, and if you want to be part of that milestone, hit subscribe before this story finishes unfolding. This situation isn't just about who's physically driving the truck this weekend. It's about why NASCAR's most talked-about future star is getting more seat time in a rival team's equipment at the exact moment Van Gisbergen disappears from that seat entirely. Fans are already dissecting the entry list like it's a crime scene. Across NASCAR forums and social media timelines, the same question keeps repeating itself. Is this simple developmental strategy, or is it something political brewing inside Spire Motorsports' garage? What makes the situation stranger is that Zilisch and Van Gisbergen are literally Trackhouse Racing teammates in the Cup Series, which means one teammate is now driving the other's borrowed truck seat. The internet isn't waiting around for an official explanation before forming an opinion. It's already arguing about what this seat change actually means for both drivers going forward, with some pointing to point standings and others pointing straight at the manufacturer ties running through every team involved. The named voices covering the sport are adding real weight to the story. Bob Pockrass has been connecting Zilisch's rise directly to the bigger 2028 plan, describing reports positioning him as the frontrunner for the number 48 seat. That reporting has circulated widely among NASCAR media, tying this weekend's truck entry to a much longer development arc rather than a standalone scheduling decision. Connor Zilisch himself addressed the opportunity directly, saying he is excited to be back in the number 71 for Spire and Nations Guard this weekend at New Hampshire. He pointed to his strong runs at Watkins Glen and Charlotte as reasons to believe in a repeat performance this time around. Neither of those comments mentions Van Gisbergen by name, and neither one explains why the swap happened now instead of at any other point in the season. These quotes don't resolve the mystery surrounding the seat swap. If anything, they add fuel to it. There's a counter-argument worth laying out here, because the tension in this story only works if both sides get put on the table fairly. Van Gisbergen isn't losing his primary ride over this move. He remains full-time in the number 97 Trackhouse Racing Cup car, currently fighting to lock down a playoff spot in the standings, with every one of his race weekends this season built around that Cup effort first. New Hampshire also happens to be the final race that Cup Series drivers are eligible to run in trucks during the 2026 season, which gives this whole situation a logical, non-dramatic explanation on paper. That's the official story being circulated. But NASCAR insiders know that the official story is rarely the full story. Now look closely at the manufacturer web surrounding this entire seat change. Zilisch drives for Chevrolet, Van Gisbergen drives for Chevrolet, Spire Motorsports fields Chevrolet trucks, Trackhouse Racing fields Chevrolet cars, Hendrick Motorsports fields Chevrolet cars as well. Every single organization tied to this story shares one manufacturer, and that manufacturer clearly has one specific young driver sitting at the center of its long-term development plan, and that driver is not the one who's missing from the seat this weekend. Chevrolet's development pipeline runs directly through Trackhouse Racing and into Hendrick Motorsports, and a truck run at Spire Motorsports sits right inside that same pipeline. Viewed that way, this weekend's entry list stops looking like an isolated scheduling choice and starts looking like one small piece of a much larger manufacturer strategy involving multiple teams under the same badge. Before we go any further, if this kind of breakdown is exactly the type of content you come here for, drop a comment with your honest take and share this video with another NASCAR fan who needs to see it. It genuinely helps this channel keep growing. The central question at the heart of this story is still unanswered. Was this simple scheduling tied directly to the Cup and Trucks eligibility deadline coming up at New Hampshire? Or is it the first visible sign that Zilisch's stock inside the sport has risen so fast that even Van Gisbergen's own seats aren't safe from the shift happening around him? If Zilisch dominates again this weekend at New Hampshire, this stops being a one-race story entirely. It becomes a pattern. And patterns are exactly what NASCAR insiders start watching closely once they start repeating themselves across multiple weekends and multiple teams. Every angle laid out here points back to the same unresolved fact. A seat that hadn't changed hands in 10 races just did. At the exact moment, a rookie with a confirmed 2028 Hendrick Motorsports future needed more laps in competitive equipment. Nobody at Spire Motorsports, Trackhouse Racing, or Chevrolet has connected those two facts publicly, and none of the named quotes circulating so far attempt to either. The eligibility deadline explanation covers the surface of the story without touching the timing underneath it, and that gap is exactly what's keeping this conversation alive across NASCAR circles this week, from fan forums all the way up to the reporters covering the sport directly. The pit box still shows a different name than it did 10 races ago. The entry sheet has changed, the seat has changed, and nobody official has said why any of it happened. One driver is out for this weekend, another is in. And whether the reason is nothing more than scheduling or something far bigger playing out behind the scenes at Spire and Trackhouse is still sitting there completely unresolved, unexplained, and impossible to ignore for anyone paying close attention to this sport right now. If you enjoy real NASCAR breakdowns like this, you'll like what's coming next.